Lamonti on AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Partly sunny, hot and humid this afternoon, high 91. 72 officially at O'Hare. Next news coming up at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
From the Matrix Home Solutions studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey.
Mike Madigan runs the Democratic House floor for 30-plus years running. He's promising this and he's stealing that. Where can you get that kind of money? He's using your house like his own piggy bank. You ought to know by now. You can pay off your house here in Illinois, but you can never keep up with the taxes. Oh, how it's always been the plan to have a taxpayer pay, no doubt. Not a matter of if anymore, but when. You're moving out.
Dan and Amy, that song means it's time for our weekly confab with Ted Dabrowski, president of Wirepoints, wirepoints.org, all things Illinois policy and somewhat politically related. And, of course, Lala has been mentioned as they're making preparations to, have the city destroyed over the next 4 days.
Yeah, 100,000 people a day. And remember Dr. Emily Landon? Paging Dr. Landon from University of Chicago. She says this is more than you think. Pay attention.
Remember how much people are motivated by money.
Oh.
It's really all about money. People, in many cases, will throw you, your health, your family's health, your grandmother's health under the bus in order to make a few more dollars.
Wait a second. You're saying that a triple threat and the city administration is placing money over lives?
No, really?
No.
Now they are?
If I thought for a moment that shutting down Lala would prevent further spread in the way that we're seeing it, then I wouldn't hesitate to do that.
That's the wrong conversation about Lollapalooza as far as I'm concerned. Talking to friends and encouraging some friends to not let their kids go to Lollapalooza. It has nothing to do with COVID. It has everything to do with a city that's been turned over to violent criminals.
Oh, yeah. You. What are the chances that there's going to be a mass shooting at Lollapalooza? Well, or on the outskirts of it, and then create a stampede.
The point is, all you have to do is have one hood rat, one knucklehead, flash a gun or start a fight or do something, and the whole place can go up. I think it's way too dicey a time because you have the city center that has been turned over to street criminals the same way that the west and south sides have been for generations.
Yeah, the Loop is now the south side.
I can't imagine, I understand, some kids are 18, 19 years old. They're in college or whatever. They're back for the summer. They're going to go to this concert. But I can't imagine parents that are excited about their kids going to this concert.
My kids have gone in the past, and they are absolutely not going this year. That's why we're leaving town. I knew when Lollapalooza was. I'm like, oh, that's the week we're going to go visit colleges.
Yeah, and that's good.
Because that's a good way to get them out.
That's a good idea.
And then I don't look like the bad guy.
I have friends trying to bribe their kids not to go.
Really?
And I'm total agreement. It is nothing to do with COVID. Everything to do with violence and a city that has suspended the rule of law. For more on all of this, we're pleased to be joined by the aforesaid Ted Dabrowski. Ted, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, good morning, Dan. Good morning, Amy.
Lollapalooza, Emily Landon, a little bit off the reservation there. She may draw some rhetorical fire from triple threat, suggesting that money is being placed over the salvation of Chicago residents as it pertains to COVID.
Well, yeah, Lightfoot might find a problem with that because she might say, no, it's not money, it's power. But I guess, power and money are inextricably linked, so I guess it's the same thing.
What about What about? I mean, I don't. Are your kids of a Lollapalooza age? I don't know what the cutoff is, but
Well, so I've got 25, 20, 23, 21. So
Oh, yeah.
they're done with that for now. So I'm lucky with that. They're out, and I've got a younger one. So I'm fortunate not to think about that. But believe me, before COVID, before all this crime happened, I was always cautious about that because it's a big party place in the middle of town, and you got to be careful.
Well, now Mayor Lightfoot said yesterday, because everyone's, this reinstating mask mandates. She said we have to have 200 cases a day consecutively, and then she'll put mask mandates back in place. But if you look at the numbers,
consecutively for how many days?
that she didn't say. She just said, and of course I wasn't there to ask. Well, how many
Consecutively.
days? Just consecutively. So it's right. That's what
Okay.
she said.
Well,
But if you look at this, was always about hospitalizations. Now it's about cases. It doesn't make sense. Hospitalizations and deaths are down 75% from what they were last summer. We've made great progress, and I don't know why people don't focus on that instead of just scaring Chicagoans.
Yeah, we're back to cases, right? And forget what's happening in the rest of the part. But and there's no doubt that cases are up, or at least they're certainly reportedly up, and we've seen that across different states and stuff. But yeah, you've got to look at hospitalizations, you've got to look at deaths, and so far what we're seeing is that the hospitalizations are staying very, very controlled. I think a lot of the cases aren't as bad. You got younger people who've been infected, so it's not as not as dangerous. So I think we've got to get past this period where they can scare people, and as long as these deaths stay down, they always lag the cases, but as long as they stay down, I think we should be pretty comfortable where we are. Look, we've got over almost 92% of all people over 65 years of old having at least one vaccine, and 74% of people over 18 with one vaccine. So the numbers are awesome in that sense, that we're getting past the point where we can get to that herd immunity. So I think we don't have to last that much longer as long as these variants don't turn crazy on us.
Mm-hmm. There's enough federal funding money to have lotteries for vaccinations and so on and so forth, but we've got a $4 billion deficit in Illinois' unemployment trust fund. We got the state with unemployment north of 7%, and not every state is situated like that with a deficit and a significant deficit, multi-billion-dollar deficit in its unemployment trust fund. Why is Illinois in that position with all the largesse we got from the feds?
Yeah, this is one of those where Pritzker and others celebrated a little too heavy with their budget and upgrades, ignoring the fact that there's this it's a $5 billion hole compared to what we started with. And what this means is that if we don't replenish this unemployment insurance fund, then companies are going to have to raise taxes effectively to get that money and fill the coffers again. And what's fascinating about all this is that we've reported this on this call. The amount of dollars that the state has gotten overall, public, private, individuals, not-for-profits, et cetera, is about $160 billion. So, they could have used and can use and should use that federal largesse to fill those coffers again instead of making, in the end, companies and people pay up again.
You know what we could use? We could use a Chicago casino. Gambling, drugs, prostitution, those are always the go-tos in a mob economy like Illinois. But Wall Street Journal piece the other day, Chicago Chicago leaders are looking for a company to operate, but operators are concerned about how costly it would be to try to operate a casino in the city of Chicago. So, boy, I tell you, when casino operators are saying, a casino in Chicago is a bad bet, that really says something about the regulatory and economic environment in the city if casinos want to take a pass on Chicago.
Well, I think that's just typical of Chicago wanting its cut, right? A bigger cut than maybe other cities might do, and that's par for the course in Chicago. But it also tells a different story too, because you've got, of course, you got the drug revenue, marijuana revenue coming in. We're moving more and more away from, let's call it, the core, diversified economy of industry and services, and we're trying to add casinos to fund pensions. We're trying to add drug income to fund pensions, which is interesting also because yesterday it looks like we're reaching an agreement with the police union in Chicago to sign a new contract that will cost hundreds of millions as well. So more money is needed.
And with respect to pensions, and since that FOP mayor deal is pending, The police pension fund pre-COVID was the least well-funded outside of the General Assembly's own pension fund in the state. It was like the low 20s in
That's right.
percentage. I mean, so that was tracking to be insolvent in the next, say, 24 months, meaning unable to pay out current beneficiaries. Is that still the track?
Well, it is. It's like you said, about 22% funded or even less. And maybe it has, 4 years worth of money kind of thing. It all depends on what money's shoved into the plan. But what's interesting about this new contract, and, the average pension right now is about $80,000 for a current retiree, one who retires right now. It's about $80,000. And the salaries are really high. So, this new contract that gives 20% raises over 8 years is going to put a lot more pressure on that pension fund. And, Chicago's got funny money right now, so maybe some of that can be used to fund some of pensions, but there's not enough funny money to go around right now. So I think this FOP contract might be great for police and trying to keep some of the public safety, but it's creating a bigger hole.
Well, and just
They
so
finally get that raise.
well, and yeah, okay, but just so we understand the numbers we're talking about, I mean, put this in real terms for your average, private sector workaday schmo like me. So $80,000 a year guaranteed because it's defined benefit plan. Net present value, you retire at 55, let's say. That's what, $2.5 million guaranteed pension?
Oh no, it'll be closer to 3.5 to 4.
3.5, okay.
Probably 3.5, yeah. So it's good money, right? I mean,
I'd say.
And it depends because some of the COLAs are different in Chicago versus the state, but it's good money. And right now, just for a data point, $92,000 is the average salary in FOP. And again, I think we got to protect our. We've talked about this a lot. We've got to make sure that we protect our blue. We just have to make sure that the math works so that their pensions can eventually be paid, and they can, and not, if we're not careful, we're going to have to fire lots of policemen because there's not enough money in the pension fund.
Well, this is not about like who deserves what. This is about what you're conferring versus what you're financing. This is exactly what you said. It's a math problem. It always has been, and everybody gets all hysterical because you're disrespecting this person or this group of employees if you don't write them a blank check. Nobody gets a blank check in this world. So now that we've established that, or nobody should, people apparently do in the public sector unions in this state, but now that we've established that fact, now let's talk about what we can afford and what you're willing to pay as a society in order to finance the obligations you're incurring. That's the actual conversation, but everybody gets so hysterical because they take it as a personal slight that you're suggesting that, you get guaranteed $3.5 million pension and somebody in the private sector earning a commensurate amount of money would have to contribute /save and thus contribute. Gosh, about 8 to 10 times what public sector workers have to contribute for that guaranteed level of benefit?
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, the average Chicagoan is trying to help pay for these pensions, and the average Chicagoan doesn't make anywhere near that, right? And they certainly don't have a couple million or $1.5 million saved up when they retire. So this is a big burden on the people who live here in Chicago. And you've got to make the math work, and you're seeing this across not just in Chicago, but you're seeing like Springfield Fire, active police and fire in order to fund pensioners. You've seen East St. Louis, places like East St. Louis and Harvey for sure. They're having to fire active workers to pay for pensions. So, these cities are being forced to choose between public safety pensioners or public safety active workers, and it's an ugly choice, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, Ted. So I lost $100 to Dan Proft because I thought Governor Pritzker was not going to run.
I predicted you would lose.
Yeah, he wanted some of that action, and also send the $100 you owed Ted Dabrowski to interview.
Exactly.
Okay, so now Mayor Lightfoot, she's doing the same song and dance routine.
My reelection is not a priority for me at this point. It will become something that we talk about as a family later on, but that's not now.
And she told the New York Times reporter that it's not a gimme that she's going to run for re-election.
Oh, gosh.
Do you think that what? Do you think she could actually win if she ran again for office, Ted?
Well, I think those are two different questions, right? One, whether she'll run again, and no doubt we're back to the same thing like Pritzker. Gosh, geez, should I run again? That kind of thing. Please tell me I should. She's looking for that kind of thing, but But I think she definitely will, and I think it's pretty interesting, right? She doesn't have to worry about a teacher's contract anymore because she pushed that over. If I remember right, she pushed that over her next election period. She just got the police contract, or she will get the police contract done. She's past. Let's hope she's past the worst of COVID, and so I think now if she gets it right, she gets to push her equity agenda and all that stuff without the problems of the past. So I think we shouldn't be fooled. She wants to do more of what she's doing, and she's going to have all the power if she can keep the position. But I do think she's vulnerable. I think when you add up crime, COVID, schools, equity, it's all over the place.
And her personality. I mean, that's the real killer for her. She's just such a disagreeable person, as opposed to that Stay Puft Marshmallow Man who's the governor. He's sort of like like a jovial, dopey, fat guy. He's sort of non-threatening. She's sort of threatening because she's just so antagonistic and disagreeable and frankly just distasteful. I think that has a lot to do with it, but that's sort of a political discussion, not a policy one. Ted Dabrowski, president at Wirepoints, wirepoints.org, all things Illinois policy related. Ted, thanks as always.
All right, you guys have a great day.
Thanks. And we do have some breaking news. A member of Tony Preckwinkle's security detail was robbed last night while on duty. They were down the block from her house, and he was patrolling the area. No shots were fired, but he was roughed up.
Same assailant who robbed Barbara Boxer?
It could be.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Do you suffer from peripheral neuropathy in your hands or feet? One drug after the other continues